Welcome to the Rutgers Community Living Education Project's Byte Size Lunch Series, Making Assistive Technology Work for You. The series is being provided in collaboration with the Richard West Assistive Technology Advocacy Center at Disability Rights, New Jersey. Today's session, Creating Accessible Materials, is part 4 of a year-long series. The Community Living Education Project, also known as CLEP, is a program through Rutgers School of Public Health. CLEP is committed to providing individual guidance, mentoring, and education regarding community living resources for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities living in the state of New Jersey. The CLEP team, many who are family members ourselves, can serve as a bridge for families whose loved ones may be seeking residential supports outside of the family's home. Feel free to reach out to our team for support when you, a family member, or someone you support is ready to explore community living options. CLEP team member contacts will be seen on a slide on the screen. To assure the highest sound quality possible, all attendees will be muted during today's event. To interact with the host and presenter, please use a Q&A option on your screen. Topic-specific questions will be addressed as long as time allows. For consideration to all of our attendees, we encourage you to keep your questions as general as possible. Want to ask your question live? Just send a quick message requesting to be unmuted using the Q&A feature on your screen. So we can unmute your microphone and you will have the opportunity to chat with today's presenters during the question and answer portion of this presentation. At this time, I would like to welcome today's presenters, Mike Morada and Naomi Leibowitz, representing Disability Rights New Jersey. Welcome.
Thanks, Melanie. Hey, everybody. Good to see you all here today. Thanks for joining us. I see there's a good-sized crowd with us. We always appreciate that. If you've been to one of our other sessions, that you kind of have the flavor of how this will run today. This is a little different today. I actually left my house. I got dressed in a real shirt and real pants, and I went to an office. So I went to the office, and I have found that our office internet is not great. So we will do our best. But if I disappear, Naomi will jump in and help, I'm sure. In fact, once I get started, I think I will probably turn my video off so that I don't ask more of the Wi-Fi here than I can expect. But I did want you to see me and see that I was sitting here. Maybe I just wanted to see to show you that I had like a really like collared shirt on, like a legit shirt. It's kind of strange to be out of the house a little bit, but here I am. If you would like the slides for today, they are at the link that is on the screen right now. There is also a QR code there. If you look at the bottom left with the little square code with the dinosaur in the middle, that is the QR code. Just take your smartphone or your tablet and scan that with your camera, and it will get you to the slides as well. And so we're looking forward to our conversation well, let's do the little intro stuff first, and then I'll tell you how we're going to move through today. So if we go to the next slide, Naomi. Naomi, am I frozen or are you frozen? Oh, there we go. So don't forget, if you want to join the conversation, feel free. If you put a question into the Q&A, we will watch for it. Naomi will scan that and we'll bring that into the full conversation. If you would like to use your microphone, just let the panelists know and we can turn that on for you so you can ask your question live. So we're excited for that. And then we'll continue on and we'll see. So you notice I'm not controlling my slides. It's really hard to sit here with my hands folded and not want to click my keyboard. That's us. As Melanie said, we are from the Richard West Assistive Technology Advocacy Center. I am the director and Naomi is our AT specialist. There's all of our socials. You can reach out to us. You can shoot us an email if you'd like. The one thing at this point I would encourage you not to do is come to our office and try to use the Wi-Fi. That's what I would not do. But everything else we can help you with for sure. And we're looking forward to this. If we can go forward, Naomi. So a quick thing about us, who we are, and then we'll jump into our topic for today. We'll keep this brief, as brief as we can. We do several types of services for assistive technology. We are a statewide organization. We can provide you with demonstrations to help you figure out what technology is appropriate for you, and what technology might help you in whatever area you're looking for. We have a loan center that will allow you to borrow equipment to try. And then finally, we have a reuse and reutilization service where you can acquire equipment at a significantly reduced rate that has been recycled from the community. Two of the things on the screen right now is that we are hosting 2 events coming up in the not too distant future. Actually, in September, we are doing our yearly AT Summit, which is on the 21st and 22nd, which will be in West Windsor at Mercer Community College. So you'll have some information on that if you're interested. You can visit our website for any of this info, which is at4nj.org, and the number 4. All right. So as we continue on, so we're talking about accessible materials today. And this feels like a good time to discuss this as people start to wrap up a summer and move back into the potential to going back to school, whether it's K-12 education or higher education, or we're going to give you one other, or even if you're just thinking about accessible materials for your organization. Think about all of the materials that you as an organization produce, and are they accessible to everyone? And why is it so important to make them accessible to everyone? Well, first, flat out, it's just easy. It's just what you should do. It's the right thing to do. The other parts start to look at how we approach the motivations of doing this. So are we looking to improve or business? Are you looking to capture a wider audience? That is very powerful. If your materials are accessible to all will want to use your business. And then finally, if you are looking to just provide services to the community, are you just looking to make sure from a public relations standpoint, you are accessible to all? That is critically important. And there are so many materials we interact with all day long. And are they accessible? It's funny, I'm sitting at my desk here, and we have pieces of paper signs for our office, and they are paper. So if I was to try to read this and I was a non-reader, what would I do with this piece of paper? But there is a QR code on it that will take me to additional information that could potentially provide me some support. And so the thought is, and as we think about this process going forward, how do we make sure, and we can go to the next one, Naomi. Sorry, I see you're having a problem with your slide projection too with me. Sorry, I think it's my internet is slow. I apologize. I'm gonna go to 12. There it is. How do we not make different things for each group? Because that's just counterproductive and it's just not a good use of resources. But instead, how do we ensure that the materials and the products that we use and create are accessible to everyone? That's much easier, because then we're making it once, but we're making it correctly, or we're using something that is accessible to all. And then we don't have to worry about retrofitting at the end. If you've ever noticed a building that had a ramp installed on it after the fact, that looks considerably different than a building that was built with accessibility in mind, and that ramp was factored into the construction of the building from the start. They have a different look. One phrase that gets used a lot by the Center for Accessible Education Materials is built in, not bolted on. Bolted on looks added in after the fact. Built in moves through and looks like part of the experience from the start. And that's what we're striving for here. So as we continue on, and we're going to share with you today, we thought we would try this something a little different today. I think it's the next slide. I guess I'm going to find out in a second. We're going to look at some scenarios quickly. And as we've talked about, and we'll talk about myths first, then we'll talk about the scenarios. What we've done in these webinars previously, these Tech Bytes webinars, a little information and then a little conversation about how you might be able to apply some of this. So today we'll share some scenarios of what you might do and then some examples of what that looks like. as you go forward. Some of that right away, we have to bust some myths first. And I think these are things that we have heard in the community as people start thinking about, how do I provide accessible material? Well, if I think about accessible design, and I like that phrase, accessible design, because that's talking about anything you do. It's the print materials you make, it's the websites you create, it's the multimedia that you create to either support your agency or to support learning for another person. There is this misconception that accessible design is only for a small percentage of people, and that's just not true. We see this over and over again. People using the captions in Zoom and captions on a TV, and you go to the gym and the captions are on the TV because it's loud and you can't hear it. And so that idea of accessible design supports many individuals, not just individuals with disabilities, but all of us as we move through these environments. The myth that accessible design is ugly and boring, also not the case. Just having something accessible doesn't mean it's just simply white background with text on it, with basic text. It can be images and videos and other types of supports, and that kind of design can be factored in as long as you ensure that it's accessible to all underneath. What does it look like and how is it accessible? Accessible design takes too much time to create. I would argue that it takes too much time to retrofit something that's not accessible. So the retrofitting of an inaccessible designed material or product takes much longer. If you've been on websites, this has been a new experience in the past several years where there are automated tools and overlays that organizations can drop on their websites to make them either to check for accessibility or to make their websites accessible. And sometimes those do not do enough for someone to ensure that your materials are accessible. So while those are good starts sometimes, those might not be the beginning and end of your quest to make your materials accessible. And I'm sure there's more myths, but those are some common ones that we hear a lot when we think about accessible materials. So when we think about the idea of designing materials, there is an acronym called POUR that people use, and it stands for perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And we think about using that with individuals with varying abilities. You see that the image there, and hopefully that's clear. It sometimes that image gets me a little bit because it's not always clear. But this idea of perceivable talks about the idea of that. Is it available to me in a way that regardless of my abilities, I can understand the information, regardless of my vision or hearing that information? Is it operable for someone with perhaps motor impairments who needs to navigate through things differently or needs to access information differently? Is that information understandable? And so thinking about the cognitive demands that are based on by your materials. When I think about understandable, I think about materials that have a pattern as to how you are sharing information. They have a design element that makes it clear how to gather information from that. And then finally, robust. Again, are they developed in a way, your materials, that allow individuals with any need to access them using any type of technology? And so as we continue, that just kind of gives you a snapshot of it. And so what we'll do is we'll move into a couple of these scenarios and we'll see what this looks like in action. And of course, as we go through these, I think we have 3 that we can talk about. If you have others and some examples that you want to talk about, please feel free. You'll actually see a slide that will pop up that will say, your turn. What do you want to talk about? So we'll do that as we move through. So as we go to the first one, the first scenario that we have pulled together for you, it is this idea of how do I access print. I showed you before, I had pulled up a print document that I had right here alongside of me. I was here in the office for the first time today. Naomi's going to laugh. I was in the office today for the first time since before Christmas. I haven't been here since before Christmas. And I know that because I got a Christmas present from Naomi. I did get it, so thank you. I appreciate it. And it was a combined birthday present too, because I haven't been here that long. But I also opened my mail that's been sitting here for 6 months. And so maybe I received a handout, and that handout is paper, which is great. This seems like information I want to read. But what if I struggle to read print materials? What if the print is too small? So either I'm a non-reader or the print is too small and I need help. I need support. And so we've given you some examples on the bottom of some possible tools that will allow you to access print materials. Perhaps it's using an app on your phone, and that one that's being shown there on the far, oh no, Melanie says my audio is drifting. Want to call in? Yes, I'll call in. Give me 1 second, everybody. Naomi, you want to take over that for a second while I call back in?
Yes. If you look at the first one, it's Lookout. It's similar. First off, people feel free to share. Turn on your mics, put in the chat, and let me know if you ever used Lookout or Seeing AI. They're very similar. One is for the Seeing AI is for the iPhone, and you just take a snapshot of something and it will read it to you automatically. Also, it will tell you about the surroundings you're at. Please, and we have a question. Okay, you can use the mic. Just let us know that you would like to use your mic.
Yeah, Naomi, it's Melanie. Absolutely. If someone types into the Q&A feature, please unmic me. I'll make sure to find your name. It'll be just a second delay, and we'll make sure to do that so they can join the conversation.
Yes. Okay, I see Julie has used Lookout and Seeing AI, and she says they both are amazing. Julie, would you like to turn on your mic and share more with us? Also, there's Google Keep. How many people have used Google Keep, the app, and took a picture of text and then go to your computer and it will read it to you? Really amazing. It's a way of making inaccessible text accessible when you're given a handout. Has anyone used anything else? Okay. Next slide.
Naomi?
Your turn to share. Would anyone like to share things they use to make a handout or something they had that was inaccessible, accessible?
Naomi, we have someone sharing that they have used Microsoft Lens from the previous slide.
Oh, okay, great. Microsoft, okay, great. That's another great tool. Anyone else like to share? I would give.
Naomi, we had someone type in a question. Actually, it looks like Mike. I'm going to unmute Mike in a second. Let's see here. We had someone else ask a question through my email asking if you take a picture of a building, will it recognize that building?
Yes, if you're using Seeing AI or Look At, it will recognize the building.
Right.
And if there's writing on the building, it will read it to you. And it recognizes faces. It does give you an age of people. So if you're using an AI, and it will look at the person and say, it's a female, 25 years old. Sometimes it's not that accurate, but it gets pretty close.
Naomi, I'm back.
Hi. It's
Okay.
Seeing
I'm
AI
sorry.
and Look Out that we're talking about.
Yeah, I heard you guys before I was unmuted. Yeah, those are great. This idea of using tools that will help you navigate through the community. That Seeing AI is a fantastic app.
And Look Out is pretty fantastic too.
Yeah, so if you look at either of those, and I wish that Seeing AI worked on both platforms, an iPhone or an Android, but it's only the iPhone at this point. But really very impressive as a tool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your tools that you use. I think that's great. I think any of these apps that can go on your iPhone or on your phone, period, and allow you to navigate through an environment while providing you audio support. I think there is still some training that has to go along with that. So I would warn about relying completely on the app from the start. I think I would make sure that I talked with the individual on some strategies of what you might be able to do if for some reason the app doesn't recognize something, like what's the next step? Like making sure that, okay, if the app didn't get the name of the building, maybe I move closer. Is there a glare on the building? Those kinds of things, because when you're out in the community doing that or trying to access materials in not ideal places all the time, you want to make sure that you've given that person some strategies to go along with the tool so that they can be successful. Awesome. How about we go forward and we'll show another one, and then we'll do this again. And if people have other ideas, we'll open up the question and answer, and we'll talk about those. Again, I apologize to everybody for my poor internet connection today. And again, this might be one that Naomi's gonna have to show because it might be on the screen, but here's a scenario. You found a video on the internet, let's call it amazing, because that's what our scenario calls it. You found an amazing video that's not captioned, but you want to share it. And you want to share it in a way to make sure that it is accessible for everyone. What could you do? And so one thing you could do is look at using some automatic caption tools that live right in your browser. And so the Chrome browser itself has something called Live Caption, that if you turn that on, you would be able to get captions that would be generated by the computer instantly for any video or any audio that you watch. And so now that material, that multimedia clip that was inaccessible can suddenly be accessible. And Naomi, I don't know if you want to show it. I don't know if you have it available to show, or if you want to add anything else, that would be wonderful.
Super, actually, am I muted?
No, I hear you.
Yeah, I could show it if people want to see it. It's super easy to get to.
Yeah, show it.
Actually, this is a link and it tells you exactly how to do it. So
Perfect.
I will click on the link. Oh, maybe not. Do you see the link?
Here it comes.
captions for any website and video you visit online. Let's dive into it with another flipped classroom tutorial. Hi, my name is Sethi and welcome back to the channel where we make educational technology easy for you. Now, closed captioning is a great accessibility feature and many websites are already providing closed captions for their video content. And using this trick, you can get closed captions for any type of content. So let's have a look at two examples. I'm going to open up one video and then I'm going to open up a podcast. You'll see that closed captioning in action.
Oh,
now, here I am on the
actually,
National
this is the
Geographic
wrong
Kids
one.
website. Now they do provide closed captioning, but let's just assume that they don't have it. Well, what can I do? I can activate Chrome's automated closed captioning. Let's start by going into our settings. So we're going to click on those three dots in the top right corner and select settings. In our settings window, we're going to go to advanced features and accessibility features. So here we can see accessibility. Now the first one you'll see at the top is live captions. This is the same type of live captioning you'd get with a Google Slides presentation or that you see on YouTube. So let's go ahead and turn this on. Now, it's not perfect, but it comes a huge way in providing that accessibility for our users. Once turned on, we can just close this tab and we're now on the National Geographic Kids page. And here we go, we start playing that video. And as you can see at the bottom, we have our live captions. Now, the great thing about this is I can move it around. I can place it wherever I want to place it on this website.
And that's it. That's as easy as it could get. You just go to the three little dots, settings, accessibility, and turn on and turn it on. And you have captions for any video.
Super easy, and they are good too. They're good captions. It's quality. It's not 100%, but it's good.
And great.
Sorry, Naomi, I don't see it yet.
Okay. Do you see the next slide? Who benefits from?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
You
don't
got
see it.
it?
I don't know if anybody else does.
Naomi, I see who benefits from captions.
Okay.
Perfect.
Mike, do you want me to take it?
Yeah, can you? Because I still don't even see it. It's really lagging over here.
Okay. Question is, who benefits from captions? And I'm just going to shoot it out to the audience. Who benefits? Everyone would benefit. The deaf of hard of hearing. Users, let's say you're in a busy restaurant and there's a sports event on and there's no sound. If they have captions on, you can know what's going on. Or if there's a great movie on, you know what's going on. So people benefit from it in public places. Or how many people use it when they are at a crowded airport and you're watching a movie and it's noisy? You turn on your captions. ESL learners. You can learn new vocabulary just by reading the captions. And the great thing is the video is searchable. If you click the link, you will watch a video. It will show you how to make it a bit searchable. The great thing about this is if you're teaching and you want to go to a specific point, you could just search, do a Control-F and search for a keyword. It would take you to that point and you could start your video there. You don't have to skip around looking for the place you could start. You can make it, you could just go right to it and it's searchable. And we do have a couple, Okay, some friends who are parents use when their baby is sleeping even. That's great. I love that answer. Okay, and we would go to the next slide. And now it's your turn. Would anyone like to? I see someone uses it when their baby is sleeping. And anyone else?
Naomi, we have someone sharing that they turn on captions when they are unfamiliar with the speaker who what the speaker is going to say because they don't always process sound.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing, Susan. Great idea. That is a great idea. Anyone else? Feel free to turn on your mics.
Yep, or you can just type your name, or just a quick message in the chat feature. Please unmute me. I'll find your name, unmute you, and feel free to participate in the conversation.
Okay, we have someone else sharing. I struggle too quick. I struggle sometimes with accents and UCC to make sure I don't miss anything. Great. That's a great thing to do. Thank you, Lori.
And Christopher points out using the PowerPoint captions. And so we've been talking about the idea of captions on videos, but thinking about your materials as well. Really important, this idea of how are you making sure your presentations are accessible as well, and using the built-in captions that Christopher mentions in PowerPoint, and Google Slides has the same thing. In fact, Naomi could probably demonstrate that in the slide right now. Naomi, not to put you on the spot, but I bet she could demonstrate how that works in the slides, which is to simply turn it on right in Google Slides.
Right.
Through the three dots on the slide advancement button on the bottom
Right.
left. And captions is an option.
Captions and toggle captions on. And the caption should be on now, and it should be showing up at the top.
Yeah.
And I have a question for everyone. Do you prefer the captions on top or on the bottom, and why?
Oh,
So Naomi,
that's
as we're waiting for some responses to that question, it's funny, I actually have live transcript enabled during this session, which is an option for a lot of people. So that's showing on my screen, and you may have to accept that on yours. But what I noticed being a big difference between the Zoom live transcript and the option that you're showing now is that your print is much larger.
Yeah.
Which is also, right, that's a great accessible feature for many people. So that's definitely a benefit I would find for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree, Melanie. I think that is critical. I think, and it goes to Katie's question in the chat about the idea of, can you do that in virtual meetings? Can you have the captions running? And you can.
Yes.
In Zoom or Teams or any of those, all of those have a built-in captions feature. Maybe they call it live transcript or captions, but they all have one of those features. So Katie, you can turn that on. In fact, for the meeting right now, you can turn on what Melanie just said. If you go down to the bottom and just click the little, probably on yours, it says CC, and it will allow you to turn on the captions. But these are the ways that we can promote accessibility just by doing it. Like Christopher said, just having it on, whether anybody's asked for it or not, just put the captions on to identify to people, this is important, and I believe it's important to have this on all the time. That's why when we start the meeting, whether anybody requested the captions or not, Melanie just puts the captions on so they're ready to go.
Right.
And if you need them, you can use them. And I think that's a really strong demonstration of a commitment to accessibility. And if I could comment on Naomi's point, I like them on the top personally, because I find a lot of times when I'm in a meeting or a presentation or something else, sometimes on the bottom, they get lost for me in the buttons, or, you know, if the Zoom window pops up or something like that, and I get menu buttons that pop up along the bottom, I feel like I lose the caption. So I always put them on the top, but that's just my own personal preference. Yeah, and then Katie says, I like the bottom. And yeah, I think that there's options there. And I think that's really important to consider. I think when I'm presenting, and kind of like what Christopher's doing when he said he puts it on for his lectures, I put it on the top, always with that fear that the bottom of the screen might get cut off on the display. I don't know why, because it's maybe that's just an unfounded fear, but I always have that fear that the bottom's going to be cut off. And so I like to put it on the top. But yeah, I think that there's options for your preference there. And I like the Zoom caption allow you, like Melanie said, to move it around. You can grab that and kind of just slide that box into a spot that works for you, which is perfect too. Yeah, the large text is really good. Yeah, Kimberly points out that the live transcript also cuts off some of the slide on the feed. So the closed captioning does not, because the closed captioning has actually shrunk the slide and added in the caption in the space where the slide was. So you're right, it's not cutting off any of the visual on the screen. Good points by everybody.
Good point.
Little things we can do, little things for accessibility that we can do. And little moments where we can encourage accessibility as we go forward. Good, I'm glad that you like that. Katie, now you can be an accessibility guru to someone else now, and encourage people in their meetings to make sure that they turn that on. And I don't know how many times I go to a meeting and I put that on just naturally in the first click of a button. I turn it on in a presentation, and it blows people's minds for the first 5 or 10 minutes because they've never seen that work, and they want to know what that is and how to get it. And it's really exciting to be able to say to people, oh, you have it. Oh, you just turn it on and it's there.
That's great. Does anyone else use any other captioning features? Like captioning websites or anything?
Again, everyone feel free to use the chat section or the Q&A section. If you use the chat section, the rest of the audience will be able to see your resources also. And Naomi, while you're waiting for responses to that question, I don't want to jump ahead if you and Mike were going to also discuss this, but can you offer any suggestions for websites? Are there additional resources that websites can add to their site that makes it more accessible for anyone joining?
That's such a great question.
That's a great question, Melanie.
Yeah. I think, Melanie, a lot of times it goes, in my mind, to the same strategies we use for materials for accessibility. So if you're going to make your website accessible, think about the pieces that you're putting up there. If you're putting an image, did you put alt text with it? So the alt text is what would allow a screen reader to describe that image. Okay. If you're going to embed videos in there, are you making sure the video is captioned, or is that a source that has captions available? Like whether you make your own videos, and I think interesting to kind of go on to where Naomi was moving with her thought. If I have a video and it's not captioned, the easiest way to do that, to get captions to it, is to put it up on YouTube and let YouTube do the audio captions for it, which I'm sure we've all seen, and we know that they're not always accurate. But did you know you could go into your YouTube channel where you've uploaded that video and you can edit those captions. So if it's wrong, you can go in and fix it. And I think those little moments ensure that the things that we're putting up on a website are accessible. If you put up audio, I know a lot of times now people are putting on, they're putting podcasts on their websites and stuff, which is great. That's awesome. There's another option. But if you put audio there, are you putting a transcript there so someone can see what's been said? Are you making sure that you're covering all of the different ways someone could get that information? There is a great website. It's called WebAIM, I'm going to dig up the resource. I'm going to dig up the link to it and put it in the chat.
Great.
Because it's outstanding. They have so many great ideas, and I believe it's webaim.org, but I didn't want to be held to that if that wasn't it. It is.
Is
And
web.
And it's, yeah,
Also-
webaim.org. Yep. There you go. And they have some really great information about things you can do to make your website accessible. How do you write accessible text? How do you make sure you have captions for everything? How do you make sure the colors you use have the right contrast for people to see them? You know, and you see in our slides, we're keeping it fairly simple with white and black, but that might not be the best contrast for people. Maybe the better contrast might be blue and yellow, which they always talk about, the idea of like a royal blue and kind of a mustard yellow is one of the better contrasts for colors. It's easier to see. Sometimes the black and white is too stark. The colors are too dramatically different. And so the contrast is difficult for people to see. And here's some strategies. These strategies could work on documents as well as websites. Thinking about how you structure information. How do you format your material with proper headings and bullets and then links? And one of the ones at the very bottom there, how many of us have gone to a website and the link just says click here? If you're an individual who's having that page read to you, I don't know what here is. I don't know what here is going to take me to. And so thinking about this idea of how you present information so it's clear, where instead of saying click here, you might say, follow the link to learn more about ATAC. Oh, okay, now I know where that link is going to take me. Instead of a just random click here. So I think some of these are really good strategies that cut across both material creation and website creation too, because in essence, a website is a material. It's very similar. It's just presented to somebody differently, but it is still predominantly text, links, and images. And so that could be the same as a document as well.
And then I know you have another slide that you may want to move on to, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I do want to share with everyone that we will absolutely be sharing this webinar. I'll try to attach a recording within the next day or two to a follow-up email that you're going to receive. I know a lot of information is being thrown out there, right? We have a short period of time that we're doing these bite-sized series, right? Bite-size, smaller, you know, not these longer webinars. But we'll make sure to get this recording out so that people can reference and see those apps and different suggestions that were made so that they can review.
Yeah, and I see Diane's comment in the chat. Diane, I feel your issue there. I have the same issue when I'm on a webinar. Is a lot of stuff comes at me quick and I'm trying to process it and then someone's telling me something new on top of it. And having the recording is another strategy that we can use to make our materials accessible. Why present it once and have everyone frantically scrambling to write things down when we can provide you with a recording that you can watch as many times as you want, and you can pause it and then go off and explore and then come back. So I understand your point there, Diane, and I'm glad that we'll be able to give you the recording as well, so you'll be able to watch it. And for Diane and anybody else, reach out to us. We're happy to chat with you about this. I can point out I'll probably be from home, so it'll be a much easier chat on my end for you, but because I won't be here at the office. But
I think it was perfect that we're doing, right, a technology series, and technology issues, right, just happen to occur no matter where you are, right? So
yeah,
but perfect, right? It shows that we sort of roll with the flow, and right, the audio on a computer didn't work, so Mike was able to call in and got a better audio connection. So there's ways around everything. So again, thanks for being so flexible, Mike and Naomi. We appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for bearing with us as we work through the switching of the slides and the calling in and everything else. But I think you're right. I think, and deep down, I have to think everybody on the call gets a little smile on their face when the tech people have a tech problem. I just think a little bit, and that's okay. We're willing to take that. That's all right. I think we could go to our next slide. Diane, I
actually,
believe the link is for the recording will be sent to you, Diane. Correct,
yes,
Melanie?
It will. I'm also going to put CLEP's website. We will be posting all of our past webinars on there also, but we will make sure to get that out in a specific email to anyone who has registered and attended this session.
Awesome.
before we move on, I just want to make one quick point. The accessibility tracker, even though it's really great, it doesn't always pick up all the accessibility issues. So the accessibility is using the checker alone is not enough. It's always better to have a person check that. If you know of a screen reader user, have them check it because they are going to find issues that the accessibility checker is not going to find. Live people are always the best because they could give you feedback that you have never thought of. And we will go to the next slide. And Mike, do you want me to take it?
Sure, because it hasn't come up on my side yet. There it is. Yeah, but you do it. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The one thing we want to make sure of that the materials that we're using is going to be awesome for everyone. Everyone has a different level. I mean, you don't want to make your materials so complex and confusing to use. I mean, how many people have been on a website and they had to click one link and then they had to click another link and then another and another to get to the information they wanted to get to. Don't make it so confusing for everyone because that experience is actually not good for anyone. And people will not visit your websites if they can't find what they're looking for. Yes.
Well said.
Okay. And consider people's differences and design with diversity in mind. Get different inputs from people. Don't just say, okay, don't just have a ton of vision and design with you in mind. Get other people's input when you're designing a website or materials just to get different perspectives. And in closing, is the design flexible? Don't.
I think this whole idea, Naomi, can I jump in for a second?
Yes.
This
Please.
whole idea of flexibility, I think, is really the key. I think this idea of considering others as you do things. And I know sometimes we get a bit of a tunnel vision is, this is the way I like things.
Right.
This is the way I'm going to do it. Instead of thinking broadly, and maybe it's an issue of every time you make something, whether it's a material you're going to hand out, a presentation, a website, whatever it might be, I always look at those elements of it and say, can everyone access this right now? Will everyone have the same experience? And what can I do to provide options for this experience so that it hits the same way for everybody? So I get that same experience and that same kind of joy of the learning of whatever that might be, whether it's a material or a website, whatever it might be. And I think using some of these little strategies here are so key. Is it flexible? Are you providing the options and the supports? Naomi mentioned having other people involved. I think that's huge. Create something and send it off to someone that you know who's going to be potentially a customer for your experience and say, is this something that's working for you? And what is and what's not working? Thinking about using clear language and clear images and clear descriptions in there so that your material is received in the way that you expected it to be received. And then that last one there is the KISS method. Just keep it simple. Don't overly complicate things. Find your happy balance. You don't need things flashing on the screen constantly and other things coming. If you don't need that to convey your message, don't do it. Make it simple so that people can access your materials. Oh, Diane asked a great question about the chat. I see it in the chat window there. Are the chats available? If you go into your chat window right now, you have a little box at the bottom that says to, and then it lets you list everyone so you could chat with all of us. Look to the right of that. There should be 3 dots that say more. And the first option there says save the chat, and it will allow you to save the whole chat as we go through. That's a good question, Diane. Always save the chat. There's always so many good pieces of information there. And then finally, we gave you some more resources. Again, you're going to have the link to the slides and the recording and the link to the actual slides themselves. These are more resources. Like anything else, we've given you some links to go off and explore more. We've kind of touched on a bunch of things today. And it's funny, in our bite-sized webinar that was 52 minutes, but that's okay. That's a big bite, I guess, and that's fine. But this idea of going off to learn more. Maybe you're a person who wants to use Excel and you want to understand how to make that accessible. There's cheat sheets for that. There's some other resources of how to make your YouTube videos accessible with captions. So things to take you off so they can learn more. Diane, you don't have 3 dots. I saved the chat, Diane, and if, let's see. Ellie, can we put the chat in with the files you send to everyone?
I can absolutely
do that?
my best. I can do my best to do that.
Okay, so there you go. So what we'll do is we'll save the chat at the very end and we'll attach that with the recording so you have it as well. That way it comes to you in one spot. As we wrap up, I don't know if anybody has any other final questions before we let you get back onto your day. This was fun. Hopefully this was good for you. This is a great topic. This is one that we could easily have talked about for hours and hours because it is an exciting topic to talk about. We definitely thank you for your time today. We appreciate you joining us. Hopefully you learned some, what I like to say, some nugget of information that you'll take with you and go forward with. And hopefully you'll join us for another one. I think these are great.
I believe our next session is September 1st, and that's incorporating assistive technology into the classroom setting, right? Which is actually a much broader presentation than many would think, right? We think classroom setting, we think, kindergarten through 12th grade, but classroom setting actually will pull into college settings, right? It could pull into teaching environments within a workplace even, right? There's a lot of different classroom settings that some of those resources may be really valuable for. And then additionally, Naomi, can I trouble you? Can you go back to the second slide if possible and just show the CLEP contacts?
Yeah.
And also if you have a contact slide for you and Mike, just so that today's attendees will be able to reach out to whoever is going to be able to help them the most. Again, through CLEP, if you want to reach out to explore different community living options and just find out a little bit more, contacts for Natalie Trump, myself are on the screen. And then we have the emails for the rest of our team also, Ann Martinelli, Mary Canor, and Maria Schiavello. So please feel free to reach out to any of us and feel free to call me or Natalie for any resources or support. And Mike and Naomi, do you both have a contact screen?
We do.
We do.
I think it's the first slide. That's the 4th slide, 5th slide. Okay, it's one of those. There it is.
Perfect. And if you have questions, right, about assistive technology, these are your go-to people. So like I said, feel free to reach out. We're here to be a resource. As we're hanging up today's session, you're going to see a brief survey is going to pop up on your screen. It's going to be the information that you provide us that allows us to better serve the community moving forward. by identifying different topics that may be relevant. So please take the 30 seconds, take that brief survey, give us your feedback. Let us know any additional topics that you would like to hear about. We would be more than happy to tailor some sessions to your needs. And we look forward to seeing everyone on September 1st. And thank you again. We appreciate everyone joining.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Naomi, Mike, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.